Check, check. Hey, can everyone hear me? 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, Deb. Can you hear me good? Check 1, 2, 3. Hello, Raider Deb. Thanks for jumping in.
Got him at 4:30. I'd be here at 5. Then I brought him, and then I was on the way back, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot. Come back again." So I ran back to the hotel. I said, "Don't lay down. Sit here."
It's fine. I can get most of it. Coach Marcus.
I'll call you Coach Bush, or you call me Coach Marcus.
That's
wild. You know what?
What it appears to be that reality actually is, as far as whether or not we're upset with each other, just actually talking about the details of a situation that might have to do with either of us. So, Gene and I got a great relationship. It's time to get it off the field. On the field, there's a way of doing things that we both agree on. And when it doesn't look exactly how we want it to, sometimes there's some side conversations that happen. I love those conversations, though. I mean, it's about the details, it's about winning, it's about seeing what he sees. You know, he's got to get on my page, but I got to get on his page.
Nobody's above me.
He's got a whole book that I need to skill set, ability, feel, and different things that he does out there. So, those are good conversations.
It is.
Mark's
Much
You got
you see a smile on her face.
I got some sexy though.
At least one of us.
Like some money. Well,
I can't play
you get that kind of money.
Yeah, you're gonna twist your ankles.
Yeah.
That's what these are.
E6?
Yeah.
Not in the Philippines?
No, in America.
They even say E6, it says basics.
Basics is hilarious.
Sir, would you like basics?
What if we do? I'll talk about. What if we do a post of like big stuff like this, just like the details?
Yeah.
Photos.
What's up? Don't put focus on
He'll never live that down. Connor came up with it. He's like, I heard you accused. Yeah, I did. Shut that down.
We're not standing by here with cameras while we're going through our pre-show conversation.
Hey, looking at the options.
Hey, do you like number 13? You like number 13 out there?
I do, a little bit, not like the old number 13, right?
Yeah.
He came in. Remember the splash he made his first camp?
Yes.
Max got some silver.
Oh yeah.
All right, I got Isaiah Pola-Mao. All right, what's going on here, everyone? Good afternoon. Salute everyone. Hey Bobby, how we doing? Good. I saw what you sent.
Devontae Jason, that video got 1 million views on
A milli?
Yeah.
that's kind of content B. Got that access we don't have.
You have access?
Nah, they ain't inviting us.
Well, they like you, though.
It's on the teamwork.
They like sports.
You want to play pickleball, so do pickleball content.
Are you sure it was
That too, or
Yeah.
Devontae Adams.
told you he wants to play pickleball?
Yeah, we're in the elevators now.
Bro, yeah, okay, he rolls his ankle. Right.
That's why I said, no, you're not coming. You're not coming.
Not with us. Go on your own, big guy.
Yeah, hell.
What's going on back there, Bobby? Anything? Mhm.
You know, Karen was hanging out in her office today. Ivy texted me like, Ivy, Karen was hanging out in her office. Oh, hell, like, what's she doing there?
Artists. They didn't send anything for a part-time.
All right, Bobby. So we have the 67 championship game.
Oh, yeah. Not credentials, Stephen guys.
What do you mean? It's a one-time, like, it's, you gotta do it for every game for them now.
Even the credentials too.
Oh, stadium badge.
Yeah.
You can't get that. Part-time can't get that. Only full-time. You talking about the stadium where you go in there just to use
So
bathroom?
how would he, I just forget how he did.
You can't go in there. You have to put his name at where he's in every time.
Who do that for us?
All right, so let's make sure we have that and just touch base on that sound.
Who would do that for us last year?
What?
The PA. Who gives him a reason? I don't know.
Oh, he does.
He does it every
You
game.
should get access to
Hold
it.
Right, ask him.
Not for games.
Yeah,
Not on
Bobby.
game days.
Yep.
Just get inside the stadium, not on game days.
Mhm.
Game days are
The
credentials.
credentials, right?
Go. No, that's not it. It's the team app, the official Raiders app, Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, it's in the App Store,
Food, man.
right there,
I'm hungry.
free.
We gotta eat breakfast.
Yep,
I don't eat breakfast.
That's the cheat code.
It's not the cheat code.
It's the cheat code. It just
Las Vegas Raiders. I would just put Raiders in there. Look for the logo and the official Raiders app. What comes up in the App Store?
But today it's just doing different.
Americano,
Mhm.
black coffee.
Yeah. Great. Great taste.
That's it.
Not breakfast.
That's it. And then, yeah. And then in the corner, the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a radio, picture of a radio. Just click on it.
I had the most delicious waffle of my whole life. It was so wonderful. They put like a lot of love or something.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I gotta go. I'm hitting the air now. So let me know if you got it. Just text me. You get it later.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach you today.
Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach you today.
Yes. Can I cook? Yes. I cook all the things. I like to eat, so I had to teach myself how to cook. A lot. So anytime I'm cooking something, if I don't know how to cook, I'll just call my mom and be like, how do I make it? And then it always comes out good.
Practice at 12 today? That's 45.
12:45 or 11. I'm sure it's over. So.
That's good.
Hey, you going to office Friday? Can you bring something from my... What? But you live in the grave. It's terrible, Brian. There's no fines. There's no one to play.
it now. It is the regular one. All right, let me go ahead and go hug MD before he goes.
Aw.
Have a video. He almost freaking got run over. The first one was Trey ran a route. Yeah.
Already.
He looks skinny too.
What's he doing? He on keto?
Oh,
Or he don't eat breakfast? That's what he was I'll come back home morning. I'll be here Friday.
You're a big star. You're a big star. You're a big star.
Oh, nice. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Food? I gotta get out of here.
YouTube
I
feed.
gotta get out of here.
Yeah. All right. We are ready to go. Vinny will join us at 10 after. Yeah. Well, we got Isaiah Pola-Mao, so I'm going to put him in my screen here.
Right there, you got it. They did that already. Have a clip.
Marcus, where's our
I think
team?
Cole is the one we want.
No, you're straight.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, where's that team meeting
Yeah.
clip you said you'd give me?
Oh, yeah, we'll
Hmm. I'd like to post it tomorrow morning, so.
Mexican restaurant.
Mexican restaurant? Yeah, there's several good ones. Yeah, the one next to Vaughn's.
It's like there's like sticker to go.
Yeah. I don't know, it's right next to Vaughn's.
Oh, presser, shit.
Fucking Marcus.
Yeah, we're good. Give Ivy a heads up.
My Ivy?
Out of the gate, JT, as we are live from Raiders training camp in beautiful Costa Mesa, California. I am back. I flew out this time. No drive from hell. Life is good and good to be here in a great environment today. I just got done watching practice to run over here, put the headset on. Saw a very spirited practice today. I got a lot to say on the practice. Vinnie Bonsignore will join us in 10 minutes as practice is running out here. Players are doing laps. They're running. So a lot of special teams, a lot of the offense today. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Brock Bowers, Devontae. I thought Devontae had a very good practice today from what I saw with Devontae Adams. But the theme of the show and what's been the theme of camp so far is that, the offense is trailing the defense. And I'm not concerned at this point because Jackson Powers-Johnson is still on the PUP list. He is not playing, and Colton Miller is not out there with the starters. Will that get to a level of concern for me? I don't know. This is still the early part of training camp, really early, but another day in pads today without two of the left side of the offensive line who miss every rep, and they're not here for any reps. So could that come back to be an issue? Possibly, or it could be nothing. It could be nothing if both of them come back here at any point in time and they're ready to play and they're ready to go. Because you don't want to miss a lot of reps with Jackson Powers-Johnson. And Colton Miller is a really good player in this league, but he's got to get his reps in. It's called training camp because you're training to get better and to get in good shape. So this is important. And how could you ask for much from Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? How could you ask them to elevate their game without two of their starters on the offensive line? Defense looks good. The defense looks really good. They're jumping routes. They're getting their hands on the ball. And I saw Max today on a play, which was a typical training camp play. Max came around the edge, He tapped Aiden O'Connell on the shoulder, which is a sack. And Aiden O'Connell stepped up and made a throw. Well, it would have been a sack. And how do you judge that? Well, they're going to break down the film. They're going to look at it. DJ Glaze is someone I'm keeping an eye on. We're going to have Isaiah Pola-Mao going to join us coming up here. He's our guest for today. And I'm looking forward to talking to him because he's really the third safety with Marcus Epps and Trayvon Merritt. And he's really good. I think he's a good player. Number 20 for the Silver and Black out of USC. And he's someone that the Raiders like a lot. Other than that, special teams. Let me tell you about that. Special teams are a little bit different today. As I watched A.J. Cole and Daniel Carlson kick off, and I thought that there was going to be limited space on the kickoff return. But as the runners are, as the defenders, so when the Raiders are kicking off, the players who are defending the kickoff aren't allowed to leave until the ball lands in the landing zone or it's caught. And to see the way they're kicking off and they're hitting line drives and they want the ball to bounce up and they want the ball to have 2 or 3 bounces to cause chaos to the return man, we got some good guys who do that here. I mean, Carlson and Cole was drop kicking some kicks overall and very good. They're very good at that with his ability to kick off. So that's got to be something that the Raiders are good at because the Raiders are good at a number of things, but they're not great. They don't have an elite quarterback. They don't have a quarterback that's going to dominate games from what I've seen so far. So they better be good on punt coverage. They better be good on special teams. They better be good with field goals, and they better be good on defense. And I think overall they will be. But the low-hanging fruit here with the media in Los Angeles and nationally is the same thing. They're not even looking at the Raiders until these quarterbacks get on SportsCenter or NFL.com or NFL Network and they make a couple of big throws, wow throws. I haven't seen too many wow throws yet in camp, but I haven't seen every practice. So it's good to be here. We're counting down the top 10 Raider games of all time, and it's we're at number 4. And Eric Allen was just a 2-year-old when the Raiders won the 1967 AFL championship game. Their AFL title went on to lose Super Bowl II to the Green Bay Packers, but it's the 4th greatest game of all time, Al Davis's championship with the 11 Angry Men. Pound for pound, if you look at the history of this franchise, their greatest defense ever was the 67 championship, the 11 Angry Men. And that'll be a game that we feature a little bit later on here as we get going on. We want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. We're up on YouTube, where the YouTubers get to see everybody. If you don't have the YouTube, you're not able to see me, you're not able to see our guest here. It'll take literally 5 seconds to do this. Go to YouTube, JT the Brick, YT. You put that in the YouTube search. It comes right up. You click subscribe. It's free, and you get everything we do. And a lot of it's going to be some pretty good camp coverage that you're not going to find anywhere else. So that's where we're going today. The Olympics, fantastic to see the Olympics and what's going on there. And I tell you, again, I spent a lot of time talking about my highway to hell, my 22-hour drive. I am putting that to bed today. There's no more sympathy for me and my car ride. That is in the past. My wife and I flew Southwest at 8:05 to John Wayne today. You know who was on our flight today? Kenny the Jet Smith was on our flight as he's out here in Southern California. I think this is going to be the last days of Southwest Airlines before they do the seating. I like the open seating, man. I was A14 today. Wife was A15. We felt good about that. You know, we don't like the B. I don't like the C, but that's coming, man. That's coming. So Southwest was good. And we're here in Costa Mesa for a couple of days. Now, tomorrow is an off day. Tomorrow, there's no practice. There's no access to the set at all. So the great Harry Ruiz will be in for me back at Lotus in Vegas. And my wife and I will be on a boat, and a really nice boat from a friend of ours. And we are going to be cruising Newport tomorrow, getting a much-needed day out on the water. It's great to have Vinnie Bonsignore, who's kind enough to join us, our NFL insider. He does mornings here for us, and he's been here, and he looks great, and he's excited, and he's got multiple jobs. Good to have you, my friend. Your takeaways, because you watch every play, every possession of practice. What'd you see today?
Yeah, I felt like the offense was definitely better today. I felt like Gardner Minshew had the better day overall, although I felt like Aiden O'Connell rallied a little bit towards the end of practice. Had some nice connections, one with DJ Turner that went for a touchdown. Dylan Laube, who keeps showing up on a swing pass that would have gone for a touchdown as well. So, they opened the field a little bit more today. Yesterday was a heavy run day. Today was a day that, a little bit more conducive to throwing the ball downfield and taking some chances downfield. And they weren't 100% by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like if you're talking about the quarterbacks and you're looking for maybe a step in the right direction, today provided it. And frankly, I felt like Gardner Minshew had the better day overall.
How do you judge the quarterbacks without Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson there, knowing we saw a play today when Max came around the edge and just played tag?
Right.
It would have been a sack here, but the throw came out. How are you evaluating the clock in the quarterback's head here? Because this is a big story coming from camp. Do they have enough time? Can they get these deeper routes going with the pressure in front of them?
Yeah, and it is tough working against that defensive line, especially like you said, Colton Miller's not out there, Jackson Powers-Johnson's not out there, and I think that if you're the coaching staff, you take a little bit of that into account. But look, here's the deal, the injuries happen. So one way or another, whether you're getting the necessary time or you're having to rev up your clock as a quarterback to make up for maybe a lack of time because your backups are in, you got to figure it out as a quarterback. So this is really great work for the quarterbacks to work against this defense, because this is pretty much, I'm not going to say as good as it will get, but it's right up there with the best that they're going to see throughout the season. So this is great preparation, and I felt like today was a good, decent day for the quarterbacks.
Trey Tucker, what am I hearing about him? Some drops, some of the issues here, because again, I go back as far and remember the stories of Cliff Branch. His first ever year was a disaster when it came to drops and getting used to it. And then year two, there was a gradual change on a way to a Hall of Fame career. Not that Trey is on that path, but supposedly his offseason was excellent.
Right.
Antonio Pierce talked about him having a reset, get going, working on other things. Why has it been a struggle?
Yeah, and here's the thing: we've always seen the classic examples of an NBA player that can get to the rim, but then doesn't make the layup, and has a difficult time sometimes making the layup, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So for all the work that Trey's done, and it's pretty obvious looking at his body, looking at his work as a pass route runner, and his understanding of the game, all of that is elevated. But it doesn't matter if you can't hold on to the ball when the throw is made to you. So he's had a few drops here. There's no skirting that issue. There's no getting around that issue. And here's the thing about this Raiders offense. It's the way it's structured, the way I think I expect it to potentially go at quarterback. You're going to have to take advantage of those opportunities. You're not going to get as many of those opportunities as you would with a quarterback that you feel like can air it out and throw it down the field and just be a gunslinger. I don't know that the Raiders quarterbacks right now are built for that. So when those opportunities do come, you can't waste any of those opportunities. Those are going to be the difference between winning and losing games. So if you're a wide receiver and that ball and your number gets called in those types of situations where there's big plays to be made, you have to make that play. And if you're not, the quarterbacks are going to lose faith in you. The staff's going to lose faith in you. And that's not what you want to have happen. It's early in camp. But it is worth monitoring because we've seen a few of them already in this camp.
Vinnie Bonsignore joins us. Great insider for the Raiders, our teammate in the mornings on Raider Nation Radio. So Laube's interesting to me because my theory this year for everybody listening and watching is that there's going to be a lot of checkdowns. There's going to be a lot of line of scrimmage passes. There's going to be a lot of hopefully reverses. Quick plays, quick decisions to take big decisions out of the hands of the quarterback. Get the ball out quickly.
Right.
Just however you're going to do it. He's becoming a big part of this because of the screen game or the ability to hit him in stride on a wheel ride. What have you seen from his play?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we saw a little bit of that with even with some other players today, with some wide receivers, some quick hitters, which is what this West Coast offense is sort of predicated on. And without a doubt, I think Dylan fits perfectly in that system. But I'll tell you what, I've been even more impressed with Dylan Laube, which expected the pass game to be there for him, the pass catching ability. He's a darn good runner as well. He took it was a pitch to the left, and it was a good 15, 16-yard gain. And he was running through would-be tackles. I think he would have fought through most of those if there was actual tackling going on. So slowly but surely, he's building a really nice resume for himself and making a compelling case for himself to be included in certain packages. He's already running with the number ones on third down offense and running with number ones in a general sense as well. So That's usually the clear-cut telltale that guys are moving up the depth chart. Just watch situationally who's lined up where and with who. Another rookie I'm going to mention right now is DJ Glaze.
Yes.
Kind of went unnoticed a little bit yesterday, but there was you never know when your opportunity is going to come in this league. And yesterday he was quietly standing over there with the number 2s, number 3s. During an 11-on-11 period, all of a sudden, Bear Munford goes down with a hand injury. DJ get in there, and the next thing you know, he's lined up against Max Crosby. All right, with the number 1 offense against the number 1 defense. And when I tell you that he more than held his own, there's people in this organization that noticed what happened yesterday with young DJ Glaze. This is a 21-year-old kid. He doesn't turn 22 until Friday, so happy birthday to DJ Glaze. But he's 6'4", 315 pounds. He's not the tallest, but he's got NBA long arms. And if you watch him, when he gets his hands on you and run blocking, he's strong as a bull. He pushes you around, but then also those long arms and really nice footwork, the ability to fend off pass rushers. In order to, like we were talking about, buy time for the quarterback. You're not going to win every rep. You're not going to be somebody that takes somebody to the ground. But if you could buy time with your long arms and footwork to allow the quarterback to get the ball out, then you've done your job. And DJ Glaze has opened up some eyes in this camp. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but he projects as somebody that's going to be an important part of this.
You just gave our listeners a big nugget about something here, because you're sensing that there's something more with him early in camp. Look, the elephant in the room is there's 2 starting offensive linemen missing.
Right.
And I've been here long enough. I don't assume anything.
Right.
I'm assuming both of them are going to be back and ready to go. But to have someone that could be a player that was drafted properly to break the glass in case of emergency, DJ Glaze could be that guy.
Yeah, for sure. And again, preface it by saying it was one practice, but that's what gets you noticed. Like all of a sudden you're in there, and you weren't expecting to be in there, and you're all of a sudden literally nose to nose with Max Crosby, and he won his share of battles. One other thing I want to point out. And talking to some people for the organization, I saw it yesterday, and I talked to some other people earlier today about it. But there was a block by Brock Bowers where he went in motion on a run play from right to left, right, and Max Crosby came flying off the edge, and just as he did to chase down the run on the other side of the field at the line of scrimmage, Brock Bowers turns and just smacked Max Crosby, and it was nose to the chest. Stood him up, and Max was not happy about it, by the way. It could have been borderline crackback block, but what it showed me, and there was another block that Bowers made across the field yesterday, where he put his nose into a player and dropped the player. And I know that there's all this talk about Brock Bowers as a great pass weapon, which he will be. He also ran one today on a 4th and 1 and gained 5 yards for the first down, out of the backfield, by the way, at fullback. But his ability and his willingness to block, like that was Max Crosby flying down the line of scrimmage. And Brock Bowers didn't even blink an eye and put his hat into his chest and made a really nice block that caught the attention of Max Crosby. He was upset about it, but I think in the long run, he's like, not a bad block by the kid.
We got Q looking to see when they're coming, so I know you want to be at the podium, so we'll keep an eye on that. Vinnie Bonsignore is our guest. That's the information that Raider Nation Radio is able to get you, is that type of information, because that information is not on NFL Network. It's not on NFL.com. It's not on SportsCenter. And it's been a theme of mine that I'm tapering back, because there's only so many times I can say no respect, no respect, no respect. How about no coverage?
Yeah.
I mean, how about no coverage? Every my 27th camp, and all the time I'd come to a camp, oh, there's Jay Glazer, there's Ian Rappaport. I saw Albert Breer day one, but I'm looking around going, it's a pretty easy assignment to come cover the Raiders in Costa Mesa, anywhere around. What do you believe? It's not the reasoning behind that, because camps change. People come in, they go on camp tours, Sirius XM will be out here, but when you look at the lack of coverage of this team, what do you think is the real issue why that is?
I don't, Steve Weiss was out here day one, but it was day one, and it was shorts and, and lids and all that. So I don't know. I do think, from a national perspective, kind of putting myself maybe in the national shoes, you look at this quarterback situation and you're a little bit dubious on how that's all going to turn out. And what my impression so far of training camp is it's a pretty good roster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best roster since I've been covering the team in late 2019 I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I would imagine that you feel the same way in
I
terms of the overall roster. But you go as far as your quarterbacks are gonna take you, and somehow, some way, in order for this team to reach its full potential and whatever that is, 9-10 wins, they need quarterback play that complements this talent because there is a lot of talent here, and it is in many ways a playoff-worthy roster, but there is questions at quarterback, and I would imagine from a national sense, they're probably looking at, all right, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are the starting quarterback. That doesn't necessarily move a lot of needles nationally, so I would imagine that that's sort of, creating the narrative that we see nationally of these Raiders.
Wrapping up with Vinny, a couple more. So I talked to someone on the sidelines today, and was going back to the Eric Allen years when he played with the team. The offensive line, when they had Lincoln Kennedy and Barrett Robbins and Frank Middleton, if a play wasn't run correctly, those angry guys got into each other. You could hear them. You
Right.
can't. And I don't feel that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because, again, I'm a big JPJ guy, and Colt Miller is kind of quiet, but he talks in the huddle. Of course. I don't expect to hear that from Dylan Parham or Andre James, but someone's going to have to hear it because if the quarterbacks aren't going to be in your face loud, and I saw Aiden a couple of times when he was down here after a big play really show some energy here. Is that a concern for you? Like, who's going to step up and be the leader? Because as we were talking about with Eric Allen, Tim Brown and Jerry Rice, they would be on the outside, so they wouldn't put their head in the huddle and rip people. Usually someone on the offensive line does that. Is there a lack of not leadership there, but aggressive energy from someone on that line?
Yeah, and I do think that it is worth noting, as you pointed out, that Colton's not out here because that's what he is.
Yeah.
He's the guy that takes everybody under their wing. He's the leader of that group, and unfortunately, but I have heard that he's looking really good, and I think that he's closing in on coming back. He's not the verbal leader, like a boisterous, vocal kind of a guy, but I would imagine in the huddle, he gets his point across, and yes, that's to me very much needed because when you look at this Raiders team everywhere else, Max Crosby is going to be your leader on the defensive line, along with now Christian Wilkins, Robert Spillane at linebacker, Marcus Epps in the safety room, Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs in the cornerback room. You've got strong veteran leadership and by proven players, by the way, at each positional group. Devontae Adams at wide receiver. So when you talk about that offensive line, which is going to be a huge part of the team's success, whether it's being able to create a run game that the quarterbacks can play off of and be able to lean on, or allowing the quarterbacks enough time to operate and do what they're going to be able to be capable of doing, you need that offensive line performing at a high level. And I do think it takes leadership, chemistry, communication, and Colton's kind of the focal point of all that. And so they need their big tackle back out there.
One more quick one. I want to share this story. So I have my wife with me. We flew today, went to the hotel, and we came out. And, my kids grew up. One of my sons was born at UCLA Medical Center, and they grew up here as kids. And their first words one of my sons ever said was Kobe. It wasn't mom or dad because Kobe was on television constantly in our home. And my sons are Laker fans. So we're pulling out of the team hotel, and my wife sees the fountains at South Coast Plaza, and she says, that's where people said the last picture of Kobe was taken the day before the helicopter crash. And I turned left and I said, wow, you're right. Kobe had such a big impact in this community.
Orange County.
Here. You covered his career. I think it's good for our audience to understand. We think about Kobe all the time in this region, but Orange County was lucky to have Kobe Bryant. He wasn't a guy living in downtown LA, even though he had the ability to get back and forth.
Helicopter,
when you're here, do you think about Kobe a little bit?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Every time I'm in Southern California, and it wasn't too far away at Long Beach State, where I was literally at his first summer league game over at the Pyramid. The NBA Summer League used to be at the Pyramid in Long Beach. And I used to see him at Angel games during the off season. He was a big Angel fan, huge baseball fan. It's still to this day a tremendous loss. I sometimes find myself still not believing it, and in terms of his just untimely death. And one thing that I have been able to appreciate, trying to find some silver lining in what's just a terrible, terrible situation, is how people have a better understanding of who Kobe really was. He quietly, behind the scenes, helped so many young players. Everyone saw the tenacious, Kobe Bryant that was, just hell bent on winning and drove a hard bargain with his teammates and his coaching staff and the front office of the Lakers. And they kind of assumed that that's just how he was. That's how he was on the court. And
The Mamba mentality.
right, exactly. But behind the scenes, and I mentioned seeing him at Angel games when he was just Kobe. And hey, how you doing? How's the offseason going? A great human being, and then also being willing and open, whether it was on the men's side of the game or the women's side of the game. He had such an influence on so many of these young players that we're now seeing, Mason Tatum, guys like that, that we're now seeing being stars, and all of them credit Kobe. And nobody even knew at the time that it was going on that was actually going on.
Thanks for doing this, Vinny.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
We'll let you get back to your other job, one of your 3 or 4 over.
Thank you.
There he is, Vinnie Bonsignore, joining us here. Appreciate him coming on the flagship. Vinny gave you a lot of good information there. A lot of good information there on what we saw with Brock Bowers, hit Max Crosby, which is a part of camp. That's what happens at camp. You go after someone. The great Howard Deneroff. Great to see you, my friend. Let me say hi to you. Way on the way out. Good to see you. Keep in touch. You got it, buddy. There you go. There you go. We got the hand right there, buddy. Be good. One of the great people behind the scenes in NFL broadcasting, college hoop broadcasting, Howard Deneroff. Formerly at Westwood One and a good friend who's at camp. That's what's cool about coming to camp, man. You bump into people that some people have known 25 years. I had a extensive conversation with Mark Davis today for about 20 minutes on an array of different topics that included a lot of Vegas topics, what he's doing behind the scenes from the Aces to the Raiders to the community. And good to see MD. MD looks great, man, too. I don't know what he's been doing, but he looks really good. Fit. He was out there signing some autographs, talking to some fans, and good to connect with him. I am excited to be here today for a number of reasons. We got a big show. Isaiah Pola-Mao will join us coming up here. Amber Theo Harris is going to jump in at some point. We're going to count down to the number 4 game of all time in Raider history, the 11 Angry Men, the 1967 AFL Championship win. Hey, man, we're not screwing around here, man. We can take a lot of games. We had Red Right 88. We had Sea of Hands. We had Ghost of the Post. We had the Gannon AFC Championship. Mrs. Davis lighting the torch. Al Davis's first game. And we're brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. How great would it be to head to a PTs tonight, 5 to 7, midnight to 2. Get an ice cold beverage. Sit back, watch sports. As we say goodbye to July. Goodbye, July. Here comes August.
JT, that was a slap of reality. I didn't realize it was really awesome.
That was really good, everybody, with Vinny. That was really good stuff. Weather's great.
coach and the declaration of his decisions, he was still checking himself with somebody that he knew had been there and had done it much longer at a higher level. And I think that willingness to always self-evaluate
kind of attacking it and, trying to take everything that I experienced the first 2 years and kind of
Yeah.
learn from it.
Well, what about fitness and conditioning again? And you're strong, and a lot of fans love to see you come downhill and really go after people. What would you change with your workouts and when you were in Vegas for most of the time?
Yeah, this all season I spent almost entirely in Vegas, just working with the strength coaches, working with the guys that's in the building. It's kind of, like I said before, for me, it's a mindset thing. Like, every game, it's just, I have nothing to lose. It's just, I'm ready to put my life on the line, if you will. Like, I'm willing. I love this game so much. It's giving me everything. It's taking me this far. Like, I'm willing to give it my life. Dedicate everything.
I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I know your dedication, but putting your life on the line for this team.
Yes, sir.
The coaching, Amber just talked about Marvin Lewis, and Joe Philbin's a former head coach, and he's here. You got Antonio Pierce. We know what he thinks of you. How are the coaches helping you become a better player?
I mean, just talking to everybody. It's so much experience in the building. Just getting the little nuggets from each of them. It's like no other, honestly. So just getting to hear and talk about the experiences that they've all been through, and they're just giving us nuggets. Might as well write it down.
Isaiah Pola-Mao is our guest. So for you, this whole experience for you, trying to get more snaps, and when you get out there, be an explosive player, is this the evolution that you thought it would be? Because you get to play for a team here where you're familiar with, has a big base in Southern California. You're playing in Las Vegas. I mean, this is a star-studded organization that you get to play for. And I've never asked you, what was your background as a kid with football, and who were the teams you look up to, and what did you think of the Raiders when you were a young boy playing football?
Honestly, with the family that I had, I was always a fan of the Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Steelers. But the very first team that I've ever played football for was the Raiders. So it's funny how the world works, a full circle moment. But I've always loved the style of football, the style of defense that they played. Just everybody coming through, clothesline guys, like
George Atkinson.
You gotta love stuff like that.
Well, you get to see George Atkinson around every once in a while and know that he played at that level. I love this because I think you're a really big part of this. So when it comes to kickoffs and punts and some of the changes overall in football, what can you take our listeners behind the scenes and tell us about that, what your role could be? And do you like it, or do you like the old school football the way they used to do it? Because I watch special teams today, and it looks like there's going to be a lot more attempts, a lot more tackles, and a lot more returns. You must love that.
Oh yeah, especially for guys like me, it's going to be perfect for us, because we're going to get a lot more tackles, going to be able to get a lot more opportunities to make plays. So for me, I personally love it, and new kickoff rules is just going to be chaotic, honestly. Like, bodies everywhere, guys getting out their lane, like it's going to be big plays or splash plays for us.
I funny you say that, because I sounded like a get off my lawn guy because I didn't want them touching the sport that you grew up with your family playing. But then I saw it today, and I was seeing AJ with some drop kicks and then Carlson. And when you look at that and you see the ball bounce in the landing zone compared to the high kick that comes down, the defenders can't leave until it's touched. So there's a lot of space there for a returner to make a play. But when that ball hits the ground and starts bouncing around and it gets crazy, what's it like with that for coverage?
Well, that kind of plays into our hand because as soon as it touches the ground, we're able to run and go get them. So we're able to close the space a little bit more. But especially with guys like AJ and DC, we got guys that can put a little curve on it and put it to exactly where we want it, so we can go. Like I said, it's going to be a crazy play. And honestly, I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
As we wrap this up, what else? Tell us a little bit more about you and your personal life and your family, and what the transition's been like in Vegas. What do you do for fun, restaurants, and how great's it been for you?
Honestly, I love Vegas. I don't go to the Strip too often. I kind of stay away from there, but they do got a couple good restaurants in there. Me and my wife go to.
Good.
Momofuku, that's one of them.
Nice.
On my off times, I go fishing at Lake Havasu. Me and Sam Webb go up there.
I didn't know that. So you're out in Havasu?
Yeah.
And what about anything out in Lake Mead?
Yeah, we've been to Lake Mead a couple times. It's the locals say it's not too much great fishing out there, but we spent a couple days out there and haven't had it.
Do you like boxing, MMA, the Aces, right? Mark Davis and all that. So there's a lot to do for you and your wife overall. A lot of entertainment in Vegas.
Absolutely. They call it the entertainment capital of the world. I truly believe that.
Last one for Isaiah Pola-Mao. Really appreciate your time with us. I'm a disrespect guy on the radio. If I don't think the Raiders are getting enough respect, I go and get in front of the Raider Nation and say, look, we have more wins than the Chargers. We beat Denver 8 in a row, which is hard to do, and you've been there for all that. And I'm not seeing the national coverage. I'm not seeing the hype. Everybody's saying, well, they don't have a quarterback. No, we have 2 good quarterbacks. Okay, they're not Mahomes. They're not elite at that level yet, but let's see what they can do. But everybody's talking about your defense. Does that get into the locker room? Does that get into the meetings, or are Raider fans and myself making too much up about that?
Well, I mean, we're humans as well. Of course, we hear it all. But
Okay.
the big thing for us as a team, forget the noise. It's always all about us. No matter what happens or what goes on the outside, all we can do is focus on each other and ourselves. So, I mean, as long as we take care of that, everything else will fall in place.
Let's do more of this.
Yes,
I'd
sir,
like to have you on
absolutely.
more, man. I really appreciate it. You got a great story, a great legacy in the league, and thanks for joining us live from camp.
Thank you very much for having me.
You got it. There he is, Isaiah Pola-Mao. Really cool to get him on as they had a lift today. Thanks again for doing that, man. Be good. And I'm really excited to talk to him. As I've told you, in my 27th camp, and a lot of these guys, and especially the younger guys here, I don't get a chance to meet them or see them as much when I travel with the team. The veterans, I know Mac's really good and some other guys here, but that's the first time I ever interviewed him. And he starts off the interview going, and again, I know there was some audio problems here. That's not on me. Okay, I'm here in the middle. I'm in the middle of a place where Wi-Fi's cutting in and out. So give me a break, everybody. I'm like, our YouTubers, we got you up and running here. So if it cuts out for a bit, that's the internet. That's not my AI guy pulling a plug here. But I'll tell you this. This guy opens up his interview starting off with me saying it's life or death. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, this is life or death for me. I'm ready to put my life on the line for all of this. Oh, my God. I mean, that was pretty interesting to hear what he just had to say there. All right, I want to thank that kind conversation with Isaiah Pola-Mao. That's brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. Steve Gomez and his team, they trust that we're going to tell you about Modelo, not only my bucket of Modelos, my Modelo umbrella in my backyard, my Modelo Jim Plunkett glasses, my Tom Flores love. They know that I drink Modelo. I love me a bucket of Modelo on a Friday right here on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Man, busting my balls on the microphone, man. I got the microphone set, Pig's Pig. Give me a break, man. Let's go. It is Modelo time. He's a good kid, man. Man, I've never interviewed him. He's a really good kid. Yeah, I love that a lot. Raider Classics, having Isaiah Pola-Mao talk with JT is making me double down on my tweet below. Yeah, I like him, man. He's a good player. Be right back. Thanks, Amber. Appreciate that. Yeah, somebody there.
I say that without hammer. Well, partially. It's funny you say that because for me, food is one of my kryptonites.
Yeah.
And I've been making sure part of this implemented balance that I'm inserting or putting into my lifestyle now has been eating better, and so I've definitely been eating less chips, drinking less soda, all these 0 calorie stuff.
Zero.
I don't know if I'm gonna drink a soda, I'm gonna enjoy a soda.
We'll drink a real one.
What?
Drink a real soda, not a diet or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not drinking Coke Zero or anything. I'm eliminating it. So what I'll do is for example, we've had burgers for lunch and stuff like that. So I'll go protein style. You know what I mean? Instead of eating buns. So I'm trying to limit my carbs, low to no carb kind of diet.
Yeah.
But then I gotta recognize too, every 2 weeks, every month, it's okay to cheat because you have to, or your body's gonna really get messed up.
Of course.
And so I've noticed a difference in terms of just being able to be disciplined in that sense because I was never able to before.
Yeah, we got to get out of there.
Yeah. You deserve getting out of there.
Yeah, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
I have a
That's all I
protein.
got.
You want a protein shake? You want a protein shake?
All right, here's on Epps and Morin coming out of break.
Oh, it's
I
yours?
didn't know who that last one was. I wasn't paying much attention. So,
You want one, Amber?
How much sugar is in that thing?
Huh?
How many ingredients in that thing? How much sugar is in it?
5 grams of sugar.
What am I hearing in the? Oh, so that's you in the background. Okay.
Take a look, Amber. It's one they're giving the players.
Yeah, but those boys can handle more than I can do. I was pretty good. Milk. See, it's got sativa.
That's
So it's a fake sugar.
fake sugar.
So instead of the sugar, they'll put the sugar substitute in.
All right, Modelo's.
That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna eat sugar.
Go to Olivera Street for dinner. We got this really nice restaurant where the
Yeah, I've been
hotel is.
eliminating a lot of
Now,
processed.
We have this really nice restaurant where the hotel is called the Water Grill, man. Water Grill. I guess there's one in Vegas, but I'm taking my wife there. I mean, it is fantastic. I mean, we know good restaurants in Vegas, and the Water Grill is just really good out here. Yeah, flew in, had a great flight today, flew into John Wayne.
And after all that, what you put in is what you're gonna get out.
Santonio Pierce talking about Trayvon Merrick, the safeties, the group overall, and what they're going to be able to do. And it's going to be very important that the defense wins games this year. Let's assume for a minute that the offense evolves and it's a good offense. I think it could be a good offense. It's got Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. It's got Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams. Come on. Colton Miller, Jackson Powers Johnson are going to play. They're going to come back and be ready to go. Dylan Parham, what we saw with Andre James, Thayer Mumford, DJ Glaze, everybody's raving about. It's a good football team. It's an 8-win football team that got better. I don't know how anybody argues with me on that. Look, if you don't think the Raiders can win 8 games because the schedule's too tough, okay, let me stop you for a second. That's a fair point. The schedule goes up against the AFC North. That means Cincinnati. So if you're someone who hates the Raiders, and we're on the flagship, so most people like them, but if you're a Charger fan or a Denver fan or a Kansas City fan, you got to assume that the Raiders are going to lose to Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Baltimore. Well, those are 3 losses. Can't lose many more games after that if you want to make the playoffs, right? Because Kansas City, you want to get a split out of Kansas City. That's what you want, is a split, because they're going for a 3-peat. It's hard to sweep the Broncos again, but I'm going to assume the Raiders do. And the Chargers feel like a split. I'd like to see the Raiders win both games. Matter of fact, I think they're a better team, but let's, for the benefit of the doubt, give Harbaugh 1 game against the Raiders. Raiders don't have many other games they can lose. I just gave you 5 or 6 losses there if they don't beat the AFC North. Then can they beat Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay? That's going to be a pretty hostile environment, but I like the Raiders in Tampa Bay. Can they beat the Dolphins in Miami? Well, that's going to be a tough game. They lost it the last time they played. So my point is the defense, and Christian Wilkins is going to be here in a minute on the YouTube feed for the Raiders. What I don't think people understand is if the Raiders on 3rd and 3 can pick up first downs with Brock Bowers and Zamir White, the other offense isn't on the field. I'm hoping that the Raiders are better on 3rd down and pick up more first downs this year. If that's the case, then the Raiders will have extended drives, which will add to more field goals if they come up short, more that'll have a lot to do with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. On defense, what happens if the Raiders are top 5 in turnovers all of a sudden? What happens if the Raiders are a top 7 defense overall with the talent that they have? And that's going to mean Trayvon Merrick, Isaiah Pola-Mao, who we just had on, Epps, Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane. The rest of these guys have to have, some of them, career years. Career years. Tyree Wilson, we're assuming, is going to get better. Max can have a career year along with Christian Wilkins. Then the team has a chance. But as I sit here today, I was not impressed today with the quarterback play. It was okay. It was okay. I've been at many Raider training camps with worse quarterbacks than the ones we have here. You might remember the Donald Hollis era. You can go back to other quarterbacks. Dante Culpepper was here, was supposed to be good. I remember him having a terrible camp. I've seen quarterbacks who didn't light it up in Napa over the years and go out and play well. But for the last 9+ years, it was Derek Carr. And Derek always had a good camp because Derek needed to have a good camp. Derek never got hit. No one ever came after Derek. Derek was always loose, happy, and Derek wanted to be perfect at camp. He really did. I mean, he wanted to be 9 for 9, 20 for 21, and Derek normally was. This isn't Derek Carr 4 years ago, everybody. I'm not seeing it. But I'm encouraged that Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are going to get better in this Luke Getsy system, because if they don't, it's going to be really tough. These quarterbacks now have been here in Costa Mesa for a number of days. It hasn't been super impressive. Of course, there's been some good throws and there's been some decent days, but there hasn't been wow moments that we need to see. And I think Antonio Pierce and everybody else is kind of pushing the offense here to wake up and get going now. And hopefully that'll be the evolution of camp. Q's coming up at 2 o'clock. I got another hour to go. When we come back, we're going to get to the 1967 team, the AFL champion. It's our number 4 game of all time. So we're going to have fun with that. You know, that's Raider 66, Raider Mort stuff, but it's pretty good. Hey, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers live from camp. I wish they had a Raising Cane's truck out here, man. I love Raising Cane's. I saw one the other day in Costa Mesa. I got a box combo because I'm always talking about Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love. Yep. All right, I got to get back to work here and do this 1967 game.
On top of those guys, one of these I recognized when I started making those changes. I'm like, I can't just go from 0 to 100 or flip. I'm like, that's how you get messed up, because as soon as you try to start that new habit, you really get messed up. So for me, I'm like, okay, let me do it in moderation. If I'm eating 4 candy bars, let's cut it down to 2. And then from 2 to 1, and then 1 every week, then 1 every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And so just so your body doesn't abruptly be like, oh man, like I need this now, and then it's harder to get back. Yes. Dude, I've been battling headaches for the last month. There's been no trigger for it. I've been getting better sleep, been exercising, eating better. I got adjusted yesterday, but I didn't. That's the only thing that I messed up.
How's everyone doing here? Jamarcus did beat Josh McDaniels in Denver. True. You know that Jamarcus Russell beat Josh McDaniels in Denver that year? Yeah, it was his best game he ever played. Jamarcus had one great game. He beat Josh McDaniels in Denver.
Moderation and balance. That's how I've been trying to live better. Like that's when I went back to the drawing board at the beginning of summer. Those were the 2 things I focused on. I'm like,
hey everybody, I'm going to be playing a lot of 1967 highlights back out of the studio. You're not going to be able to hear it unless you're able to listen on the app or listen on lvsportsnetwork.com. So a lot of these 67 sound bites that I'm going to use here, this is not going to pick it up. So you're going to have to deal with that. And then that'll be about it. I might have Paul Gutierrez coming up here in a minute, so stick around for that. How much time, Bobby?
Some days I gotta do what's best for where I'm
Get your workout.
So going in the pandemic, my dad and I were training. Sorry, my sister and I were training together. My dad would be watching us and writing the workouts and everything. And at that point, I was still focused on swimming. And so I bulked up and we're doing all these things. And so by picking his brain and constantly looking at what he's doing, why he's putting it in this position, and all those things, I started writing my own workouts. And then I was like, hey, well, how does this look? Is this good? Blah, blah, blah.
Amber's
And
Christian.
for the most part, it's been good. Like this last one I wrote up, he's like,
He put it on a tux.
he was
Make up
like,
for you.
take out this. He was like, this is good. Yeah. He was like, because your shoulders up right now. He said, take this out because it's gonna. He was like, because that's gonna strain your shoulder and it's gonna put a lot more pressure on it. And he's like, and do these 2 exercises as well. And he elongated one of the exercises. I only did for like 10 reps. He's like, do it for 20. He's got it. And so things like that. He's just helped kind of guide me on that. But I've always picking his brain. Him and I were talking about it. He was like, talk to AJ. He was like, go set a plan with him, even with your diet as well. And then you go. I really sat down with him and talked.
Man, the weather's gorgeous today. It really is nice. I mean, cool. It was cool in Vegas when I left. The weather was pretty nice.
I've had to adjust so many things over the course of the last year.
You're so busy, you're not gonna be able to just set up.
When you mention that, Mike, when you say that glorious celebration, I hosted that. That was a highlight of my life. I hosted that on field at halftime, and that was the largest crowd until we got to Vegas I ever was in front of. That was me. And I did that whole halftime from the podium, and I got pictures of it framed at my house. Man, it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that. Thanks for bringing that up. I would have not forgotten, but you jogged my memory. And we beat the Chiefs that day.
It's always rough day, huh? It's always like that's a dude right now.
Well, I just for like each season, I'm like, okay, these are the sports that are happening. Like, which ones are actually vital to me that I want to cover and want to be around?
Yeah.
But then, I only do the home games, or I only do these games so that I have time for myself. Yes, exactly. And that was part of when I was talking about consistency and balance.
Go talk to chicks.
Why you say? Hey, no one had to tell me that.
My family friend had came to visit in Vegas, and she was telling me, she was like, my dad told me to tell you to go get a girlfriend. I'm like, oh, that's happening right now.
It is so funny. I mean, it's the age.
It's not like I
There's
haven't
one
gone
thing
out.
that does not change, no matter how much the generations change. My friend was talking about the expectations.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, JT Training Camp, Costa Mesa, California, on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. Alex and Orlando DeCasta Verde, reason why we're here, right off the field, right here in Orange, California. If you're back in Vegas, if you're through the state of Nevada, up in Reno, where their dad built an incredible legacy. If you get into an accident or injured, 702-222-9999, the brothers win. These 2 brothers have your back. The brothers have your back. La Familia, 702-222-9999. Yeah, I got the shades on if you're watching on the YouTube feed, JT the Brick YT, because it is bright, it is sunny, practice is over. So here's what's happening. I'll take you behind the scenes. Media's in the tent right there, right next to me. And they're at the tent, and there's the podium there, and they bring players out. In the morning, Antonio Pierce, players later in the day. Christian Wilkins is coming exclusively to Silver and Black Productions here on YouTube. And he's going to do a sit-down with Amber Theo Harris, who joined us earlier, and the great Eric Allen. So we're going to have that coming up here as we open up hour number 2 of the show. And then maybe Paul Gutierrez is going to jump in here. My recap of practice today is it's all about the defense. The defense is absolutely dominating at times. The offense hasn't had too many wow moments. Dylan Lobby getting the ball out of the backfield is fun to watch. Brock Bowers, Big Michael Mayer, all that's cool. Devontae, they're not doing a lot with Devontae here. It's a camp. Devontae's fine. Devontae's running some routes when it's 7-on-7, 11-on-11, and they're not tackling him to the ground. Devontae's catching the ball. But what I love about this team in this particular camp is Luke Getsy's install of the 2 tight end set, the 12 personnel, and how Brock Bowers is getting open over the middle of the field. And if Brock Bowers can run the underneath route and Devontae and Jacoby can go over the top, that's going to cause defensive coordinators to adjust. And once those adjustment comes, let's say Devontae's having a big day. He's got 8 receptions for 90 yards and Brock Bowers got 4 for 40 yards. And they're just ripping it up. You know how great it's going to be to hand the ball off after those guys are catching balls? And defensive coordinators are making adjustments with the double team of Devontae and maybe a double team of Brock Bowers or hitting him off the line of scrimmage. Zamir White running behind one of these big tight ends is going to be special to see. You know, no fullback, and these tight ends are going to block. These tight ends are going to be in the backfield. Brock Bowers is going to touch the ball behind the backfield, and I'm excited about that. All right, so we're going to be fluid here. I'm going to go quickly. I'm going to look back at the number 4 game in Raider history, according to our team, not with the Raiders. This is Raider Nation Radio. This is our summer series. Here we go. We're back to our top 10, number 4.
Keep my mouth shut after that comment.
He's so loud. I'm a great boy, Mom, aren't I? Just kidding. Because I am more fit. And I don't need to be working at this age. You know,
That's why I'm not rushed.
yeah, you don't want to find the one right now.
All right, we're at the 4th greatest Raider game of all time. I take you back to December 31st, 1967. The Raiders dominate the Oilers in the 1967 AFL Championship game. The Raiders win 40-7. So this is a blowout, but it's important because this led the groundwork for the Raiders to be a championship franchise. The birth of the Raiders in 1960 and a championship in 1967 in the AFL. The Raiders posted a 13-1 record that season, won the AFL Western Division. The Raiders outscored their opponents 468-233. The Silver and Black led the AFL in scoring, and only Houston allowed fewer points. The Raiders captured their first American Football League championship and earned the right to play in Super Bowl II, the first of 5 Super Bowl appearances to date for the team of the decades. The 1967 Raiders were coached by John Rauch and anchored by the likes of center Jim Otto, guard Wayne Hawkins, running back Hewart Dixon, the great Willie Brown at cornerback, and linebacker Dan Connors. Rauch was named the AFL Coach of the Year in 67 in just his second year at the helm. The Raiders' 13-1 record that season and won the division gave them momentum. And with all the points they were able to score, they had a high potent offense, but their defense was called the 11 Angry Men, and they were really good. Now, going back here, everybody, we're talking about the AFL, the American Football League, formed in 1959 with the Raiders joining in 1960. And after a twist of fate, shifted the origin of the franchise from Minneapolis to Oakland, California. After winning only 3 games from 61 to 62, Al Davis was hired as the head coach and general manager and immediately set the tone, turning the club around after steady improvement and narrow playoff misses. Mr. Davis now serving as managing general partner. The Raiders took that next step in 1967. Now, this game was about the Mad Bomber, Darryl LaMonica, who had unbelievable drives in this game and Blanda field goals. The Raiders went up 3-0 with 3:06 left in the first quarter. The Raiders defense turned the heat up on Beathard, causing a Willie Brown interception on the second play of the Oilers' next possession. And the Raiders were back in a struggle here. Blanda missed a 44-yard field goal. The Raiders drove back, and on a 4th and 1, Houston took over on downs. So this game was about the defense clamping down Houston, clamping them down completely as the offense needed time to get going, and then they were able to explode. Blanda and his field goal, LaMonica with the big arm, the savvy veterans pulled off a fake, and LaMonica connected for a 17-yard touchdown early in the second half. Blanda's extra point was good, 17-0 with 12 seconds in the first half, and the Raiders have the lead in a big game that would lead them to the Super Bowl. A lot of other big scoring plays in this game. the Raiders started to take control throughout the game with the Mad Bomber, Darryl LaMonica, who just had his way, picking off the defenders of Houston, underneath, middle of the field, over the top. He was electric in this game. A 12-yard touchdown pass from LaMonica to Bill Miller with 6:54 left in the fourth quarter capped a 8-play, 48-yard drive. Blanda's extra point was good, and the Raiders finished off the Oilers 40-7. The teams traded punts the remainder of the game, the Raiders getting the ball back with 10 seconds and running out the clock. The Raiders captured their first American Football League championship and earned the right to play in Super Bowl II. What a moment for the 11 Angry Men and the Raiders as we take a look at this team and what they were able to do. It was a dominant performance, and this sound is going to be really good. So if you're listening on radio, if you want to go to the app and listen to the sound, all cuts are from NFL Films as we open it up here this hour. Let's begin with LaMonica's preview of what happened for this game. Also, NFL Films. This is how far we go back with NFL Films. This was their old time back to 1967 game preview. Also, NFL Films got into that defense. You just got a little tease there of the 11 Angry Men and how the defense shut down Houston's running game. Now, I was very fortunate in my life to call Darryl LaMonica a friend. Got to know him and his wife a bunch in the last 10 years of his life. With all the events I was lucky enough to host, the alumni events, the Mad Bomber, on that day, the offensive game plan. So that was pretty cool to hear Darryl LaMonica talk about the game plan. Remember, they were calling their own plays at the time at the quarterback position, and he saw a weakness to his left on the right side of Houston's defense, and he took it apart there. Here's the Dixon touchdown run that made it 7-0 in the second quarter. All right, so that's some of the sound that we have here, and I think it's really good. So I want to go to the end of it, Bobby, if we can go to the final wrap of this win. This is a 40-7 victory for the 11 Angry Men and this great Raider team, going back to 1967 as they pull it off.
Yeah, no, I hear that a lot. Like, like you said, that's definitely your stuff as well as their stuff. That's like their passion.
All right, so there it is, 1967. We rank that as our fourth greatest game in Raiders history. If you want to jump on YouTube, you can see what we're doing here at camp. Over on the side here, Christian Wilkins is talking to Eric Allen and Amber Theo Harris here. So we're pretty busy here today. A lot of people in our tent at Silver and Black Productions, and I'm trying to keep my voice down. So they can conduct their YouTube interview. If you want to get through on that game, fourth all time, there should be some old timers or Raider fans who understand the significance of that game. It's 702-365-9200 if you want to get in, and we can get this going. I'm excited about this game because, as one of our viewers here on YouTube pointed out, Michael Daniels said, "What a glorious celebration, JT, at the Coliseum on the 50th anniversary of the 67th 11th Angry Men celebration, followed by the Chiefs' victory. What a great day." So I ended up emceeing that event on the 50-yard line for the Raiders, or close to it. And that was the biggest crowd that I've ever been assembled in front of until I did an event in Las Vegas the first year with the alumni. So, 56,000 fans. It was halftime. Say a couple went to the restroom, but it was sold out. It was 56,000 fans. And I had my sports coat on and suit, and I was there on a podium with the 11 Angry Men. And we were able to interview Jim Otto, Daryl LaMonica, and it was a pure highlight, one of the great highlights of my Raider career. And I have a picture framed in my office at home with the crowd behind me and those gentlemen, many who are no longer here with us, including Jim Otto and Dan Connors. And when the list goes on and on, Jim Otto just passed away, and Jim Otto we just lost. When you go through the list of the players who've passed away from that team and the impact that they had on the Raiders, that truly was one of the most important Raider teams ever assembled. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking about one of the greatest games in the history of the Raiders. We rank that at number 4 all time. So when you're at number 4, there's only 3 left. We're trying to time it out before we head to Minnesota for the first game of the preseason, which is a week ago, pretty much a week from this upcoming weekend coming up. So I think Bobby threaded the needle nicely, and we'll be able to get to the bottom of this and give you the final 3 games left. I think you know what the final 3 games are, but I don't think you know the order of the final 3 games. I want to say goodbye to our YouTube friends. Appreciate you being in here today. Thanks for this. This was a grind trying to get through the internet and get this thing up and running today, but we're happy we're able to pull it off. If you want to talk about this game, 1967, 702-365-9200 is the number. And when we come back, AJ Cole, I love hearing what he has to say. He just spoke to the media. If you didn't see it on the app, you'll hear it next. Probably the best punter in the league. His thoughts, and Paul Gutierrez a little bit later on. JT live from Costa Mesa, as we're brought to you by Virgin Hotels. Thrilled to welcome them back in our radio portfolio, where my DNA runs through Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas. All right, we'll throw to AJ Cole. I'm going to try to get Paul here. Thanks, everybody on the stream. Thanks, everybody. You kind of got to be patient with this stream, man. We had internet problems today. Not on me, not on our team, but I appreciate you hanging in there with us. Thanks so much.